Hey, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
Seth from SethMarkwood.com.
Rob from WhyPeopleClick.com.
And together, four of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Welcome back once again. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Doing great, thanks.
Rob's like, good morning. What's that about?
Good morning. Well, I did just have a cup of coffee, so it must be morning.
Well, this show is actually created for our Australian audience. Primarily.
G'day.
I haven't gotten any Vegemite yet.
We are huge in Australia, right, Glenn?
Nice.
Yeah, we did talk about doing that. We had a guest from Australia with us last week, and it is the first time that we've been recording these. We usually record them in the evening. Then it was actually breakfast time somewhere. Although we're proponents of breakfast for dinner, so it's
breakfast sometime somewhere in the world.
That's right. So hey guys, let me just introduce you to my buddy Rob. Rob and I, we're trying to establish how far back it goes. We don't know, but Rob and I used to work together and used to find excuses to actually work together. I'm in training. Rob was working in IT, but actually marketing in IT, right? It's sort of not exactly
marketing.
IT.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. My brain goes to IT, but you're right. And we actually did some webinars together, and I've seen him speak publicly, and I competed with him as part of his team in a barbecue competition. Rob is an all-around interesting guy, and I thought, you know what? I want to introduce you to Rob as well, and Rob to you. So that's why he is here, and we're glad that you're here. So welcome to the other quarter of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club who is hanging out in the chat. So I did pull down from from one of your websites. I know that you're all over the place.
A little bit.
An introduction, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be like any good MC and give you the official introduction as written by you, right? And then we'll go from there. So Rob is a SEO and marketing strategist, so search engine optimization and marketing strategist, a creator, a writer, an entrepreneur, a blogger, and a dad. He is also the author of Mastering Google Keep, which, by the way, I purchased. In his spare time, Rob enjoys completing home improvement projects, crafting barbecue, and cheering on the New England Patriots. I assume it's a sports team.
It might be.
If only they were any good.
Rob lives with his family, which is his daughter and his dog, Lily, in Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. The Triad, the Piedmont Triad, as we call it. So he's a neighbor of ours still. So, you know, so many places we could take this conversation, but let's start with how the heck have you been? I haven't seen you since we were cooking ribs in a competition.
That's right. Yeah, you know, I've been, I think, as well as I can be considering COVID. Thing that happened.
Once again, what time is it now? We're 4 minutes in, and our video is already flagged by YouTube.
Damn it! Yeah.
Quick. So while we're talking about it, what unsafe advice do you have for us?
Yeah. If you happen to be dating in this environment, don't let the at-home order stop you.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Because it hasn't stopped me.
So let's see. What was that in the fall that we were barbecuing?
It was
competing.
Yeah.
Competing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd never ever been on a team. I think this was the first time you cooked competitively, and that was a really interesting competition because it was a private competition that's been held in a neighborhood. Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, a bunch of guys with their Weber grills, and Weber was well represented, mind you, but were these some serious competitors. I don't know.
Very serious.
How many teams were there on that cul-de-sac?
I think there were 12. And it's the biggest one that they had up to that point. And the great thing about it, right, is the philanthropic piece of it, because all the money goes, all the donations went back to Hospice of Greensboro, which you can't go wrong there. And then, of course, Triad, the butcher shop nearby, supplied the ribs.
Wow.
And they gave you one rack, and you could opt in to get a couple others, which, of course, I did, because it's more to choose from come turn-in time. I mean, smart competitor doesn't just go with one rack of ribs and know that it's going to be right, because it could very well not be good. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, I think in the end, we wound up putting in our container ribs from a couple racks, right? Is that right?
Yeah, we did. We co-mingled from a couple of racks, the ones that cut the best from the racks that we cooked. Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a Frankenstein sort of a turn-in.
It looked good, though. But there was a whole lot of shigging going on, right? So what is that?
Yeah, people were dropping in all the time and saying, "Oh, so you're the, you're the one with the serious piece of cooking gear, and and you're the dead ringer in this one." And it turned out I didn't even play.
we were not the dead ringer.
We place, but I will say, to our credit, we had more people sample our ribs and come back for seconds than I think any other team.
Yeah.
From what I can see,
Yeah, it's funny.
So it was people's favorite.
I was just going to say that if there was such a thing,
if there was a fan's favorite at this competition, I think we would have won it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because clearly it met with a lot of good favor with the fans that had gathered. Yeah.
So, okay, I think part of why the assumption was made that maybe we knew more than we did was the fact that you had some professional wares on display, right?
So I had some professional wares. So I run an e-commerce shop related to my barbecue passion called pitmastertools.com, and connection lost. There's a problem with the network.
I still see you.
Oh my God.
We're still here.
Really?
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Tell you what,
Hello?
if we lose you, we'll mention it.
It'll come back.
COVID.
There's
No, you're good.
Yep.
Pitmastertools.com. Website.
Oh, you got to mention it.
Barbecue related fan gear and stuff
Hold
like
on.
that.
I think that was garbled. Would you mind mentioning that URL one more time?
And
there's a delay now.
Okay. So there's the network connection problem. Well, we know how to jettison a guest and bring him back in, don't we?
We do.
Poor connection. I honestly don't know how that's even possible.
Well, you know what? If you worked in IT, you'd know that.
Because I am sitting right on. I have a mesh network.
All right. Well, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think it's more Skype than anything. But anyways, so we're back.
Are you hearing us in real time, Rob? Or is there a delay?
Yep.
Okay.
No, I'm hearing in real time. Yep.
Good. Let's just keep going then.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I had some wares on display. I also had the Pitmaster's logbook that I self-produced as well, where a barbecue cook could log on in a diary type book their cook and learn from their successes and their less tasty cooks. And so that's another book that I have on Amazon for sale, and also on my e-commerce site, pitmastertools.com. And so that was a great first experience. Allowed me to really understand kind of a little bit more about the competitive scene, and really refine my checklist, my barbecue competition checklist, which I posted on pitmastertools.com after the competition to help other cooks.
So one of the things that we should always have handy are several super soakers to send people away from our area while we're applying secret rubs. And we should have it. Okay. you had your rub in an unmarked container, but we should be putting the rub into something that's like regularly available off the shelf, right? Take some
Yeah.
Big Daddy's butt rub or something.
Or Meat Church or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, put rub into that so they think they know your number.
But maybe we do that after we have a couple trophies.
There you go.
So yeah, after that experience, I haven't been too keen to compete. It's really resource intensive and time intensive, and it takes a lot of planning. And usually it's not just ribs, right? It's pork butt, brisket, and ribs, and chicken. And that's an all overnight affair that you start the night before, because turn in starts at around noon the next day. And as the Markwoods know, a brisket is no 6-hour thing.
Yeah.
No. No.
That'd be nice though,
So yeah.
I mean, hot and fast, you could do it in 6 hours, but I'm not a real advocate of the hot.
Have you tried that yet? Because that just doesn't sound like a smart idea to me.
It really doesn't. It sounds like, if you're going to put $40, $50 into a prime Packer cut brisket, you want to give it the time, love, and tenderness that it was raised with and was handed over to you with.
Yeah.
I don't know, that sounds like a blog post in the making to me. If only someone had a website where they could post such an experiment.
Right.
So, all right. Thank you for that segue. So going back to those early days we worked together, I think maybe we had just recently moved from selling our corncob pipes on eBay over to selling on our own website. And at the time we were selling a lot of patent prints.
Right.
And so those things were interesting to you, and you were giving me advice on things like blogging and, having a YouTube channel and stuff like that. So let's bring this over to SEO a little bit. I don't know if anybody watching this has their own website or desires to have some kind of e-commerce site, but build it and they will come is a bunch of garbage. You can have an amazing site, and if you're not anywhere near the front page of a Google return, no one's ever going to find you.
For sure.
So tell us a little bit about some of the various things that you are involved in to help draw either for yourself or for some of your clients to sites.
Yeah, for some of my clients, I do both paid ads and SEO. Search engine optimization is really kind of a long-term play. It doesn't happen overnight, but I have some early results for a very new e-commerce project that we got indexed and showed up in Bing very quickly and got sales, 1 day sales of around $1,000 just from people finding us on Bing somehow.
And these are products that sell for what?
Yeah, these are floor decals, social distancing floor decals. So that's a project that myself and a partner just recently launched. And so, SEO typically is a long-term play. It's competitive. The stuff that you happen to fall into as a passion is already littered with millions of results. How are you going to surface yourself above all of that?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, there are signals sent out by everything that's connected directly and indirectly to your website, your social presence, your YouTube channel. All of these things kind of can feed back into it and are taken as maybe not primary signals, but secondary signals as to, is this entity known? Is it viable? Is it authoritative? Can it be trusted? And we'll use some of that. The search engines use some of those signals to understand that this website is indeed something trustworthy and should be allowed to rise up in the rankings some against other worthwhile websites.
Mm-hmm. So an example of this, again, when I met you, you had just come from working at the North Carolina Zoo.
Sure.
Which is huge. If you've never been to or ever heard of the North Carolina Zoo, it is the largest landmass of zoo in the United States and maybe beyond that.
Especially in terms of state-owned zoos, right? Because there's still this element that the legislature funds a certain amount of funding for the zoo. Certainly what I did at the zoo was expand their content like tenfold. We got into everything I could get my hands on, from descriptions of the animals that were on exhibit. Each animal had its own page. Then we went deep into the green practices that were new. There were on-site recycling, the biomass and biofuel stuff that they were doing, the solar projects that they had. All of that had its own, was kind of like a site within a site. And then we gave the PR office the power to publish their own press releases directly on the website. Before that time, they couldn't. They had to send it through a webmaster. And so we empowered kind of the zoo and gave them a lot more credibility and a lot more information and a lot more pictures, and and just the traffic just went through the roof, and it was a good thing. And and then I was I came to that job when the economy had tanked a little bit around 2000, and took that job as kind of a way station, knowing that there might be something a little better out there, because despite what people think, not all state jobs pay fantastically well.
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But there's this perception that working for the state, you must make a great wage, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So then the job that Scott and I worked at, there was an opportunity that opened up there, and that's how we came to find some excuses to work together, holding webinars, holding webinars for customers.
Yeah, see, that was fun because we weren't holding webinars on our product. We were holding webinars on just what we're talking about here, helping our customers reach their customers. And to me, the thing that was the most fun and risky was, in advance, we asked a few of them to submit their website for review. And then during the webinar, Rob would pull one of those up and kind of say, hey, here's what I see that you're doing well. And here's a couple things you might want to look at. But I remember one that I think you hit the nail on the head, where you said, I'm assuming that one of your college-age children came home one summer and said, hey, Dad, let me make you a website. And that was, 4 or 5 years ago. And the guy said, well, that's me. And that's about my story. So, I mean, there are some websites that are basically their business card. It's the kind of website that Yellow Pages would be happy to create for you, or somebody who's going to charge you a ridiculous amount of money to make you a single page website would do for you.
Which is better than no website.
It
can be.
But
it can be. It can be a good starting point, but you've got to have a marketing strategy behind it. And I think that was what was really lacking a lot of times, is that we'll build you a 5-page brochure website, products, services, about us, contact us, homepage, and the job was done, or assumed to be done. And that's, you got to peel back the onion skin, because there's...
Well, I think a lot of business people fool themselves into thinking that, my customer's going to go on to the World Wide Web and they're going to search for Bob's Custom Kitchens of Savannah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm going to show up at the top. And what they don't know is their customer doesn't really know their name.
Right.
And in the meantime, their competitor who does a better job of search engine optimization has already used those keywords to snag the top spot on Google.
Right.
I remember people kind of losing their minds over why is it when I search my business name, my competitor's name pops up first. And
there were even these internal experiments that I did, and I won't get into the details, but it's interesting how people inside a company make assumptions about what people outside the company call a product or search for as far as a product goes. Because I remember with one product category, we changed the keyword focus. I did some research. I saw that.
Was this trash cans versus waste bins?
It was
that one?
Washroom accessories versus bathroom accessories.
Ah, okay.
And the internal lingo was bathroom accessories. And as soon as I made the on-page changes to washroom accessories, we suddenly were in market with all of the competitors in that vertical.
Which is a commercial term.
Commercial term that architects and general contractors might search for, specification specialists might search for. And suddenly we were in market with the competitors in washroom accessories.
Interesting. Without changing any products.
Without changing any products, just changing the keyword focus, understanding more about the customer.
Yeah.
Understanding who your customer is.
We do that. We sell grease traps for restaurants, grease interceptors. Interceptor is the technical plumbing and architecture term, because from a plumbing standpoint, a trap is something like the P-trap under your sink that's capturing water to keep odors, and grease traps don't do that. And so what can happen is if you put two P-traps in a row, it can cause a problem for your plumbing. So technically, grease trap is not the right term. We call it grease trap everywhere because our customer is the restaurant owner who, if they have ever heard it ever one time, they have heard it called grease trap. And we built our website for our customer, not for the architect and the regulator, because that's who our target audience is.
Well, you do both.
Yeah.
So our grease interceptors in there.
We do because that is the technical term, but we lead with, in our marketing material, we lead with grease trap because our primary audience is the end user consumer. Instead of, we have various levels of distribution and we do deals with these other people. We can talk about the certifications and the technical terms, and we do to those appropriate audiences. But as far as our website goes, we knowingly use the wrong term because it's the term that our customers use.
So it's all understanding who your customer is, who you're uniquely positioned to serve, and then going from there, because it informs all of your marketing, not just your SEO. It tells you which trade shows to show up at. It tells you which social channels to be involved with. I mean, it informs so much of your marketing. If you don't take that first step and understand who your customer is or who's giving you the most amount of business that you want, then you're going on a fool's errand.
Yeah. So you blog about a bunch of things. You also have a podcast or multiple podcasts?
We did have a podcast. My partner and I dissolved it.
Okay.
The Dad Hub podcast has been mothballed. It was a great project, but we both found we needed to put more focus in other things, since it wasn't really. It was giving us great exposure into putting together a podcast, putting together a podcast website. What do we need to do to optimize for podcasts? How do we bring guests on? How do we script it? Ways to do introductions. How do we structure the show? How do we get it on iHeartMedia? And how do we get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the other podcast platforms? How do you do that? And then all the podcast directories. How do you get on all the podcast directories? So we certainly understand soup to nuts how to produce it, the role of transcribing your podcast, and what that can mean for your podcast, or any program, video or audio program, certainly. And so a good experience, but we decided to throw it in the dustbin.
Could you monetize it? I mean, had you been making tens of thousands of dollars, would it have been more interesting to you?
Well, it was kind of dependent on both of us as partners, right? Certainly I could have carried on with it. He had the audio production expertise. He's primarily a video production expert, so he was able to utilize some of the same Adobe Suite programs, different Adobe Suite programs to kind of produce the podcast show, which was a big help. We worked out a workflow that included kind of onboarding the guest, pitching, developing questions. And that was the most interesting part, was developing interview questions that nobody else asked before. Right.
We haven't gotten to those yet tonight.
Yeah, no. Like for this financial planner, we asked them, here's an example of one. For this financial planner, we said, so when you get your budget together and you and your spouse see eye to eye on spending and all of that, do things go better in the bedroom?
Well, that I would assume would depend on whether they have that monetized or not.
He said, and he said, yeah, he was caught off guard. He admitted for never been extent.
I would have to believe that that's true. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, relationships go smoother when you're not both obsessing about who's going to pay and how we're going to pay the next bill.
Right. Like, where's that? Yeah. Nobody fights over where that $500 comes from, but where it goes could be an issue.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So if you, sorry, go ahead, Seth.
Voodoo wants to know what's in the cob.
That's a great question. I filled it with something.
What is it?
Again, I grabbed the one that has the very faded label. See the label? So it's some bulk lane blend. I think that this one is RLP6.
Yeah.
Oh wait. I'm starting to make it out. No, I'm not. It says lane limited bulk tobacco, and I can't tell which one it is.
But not 1Q?
It's not 1Q. No, I'm as much as I like 1Q and as much as I have 1Q, I have tried to break out of my rut a little bit. Now, everything I'm smoking is still a Cavendish tobacco of some sort.
1Q light, 1Q zero sugar, diet 1Q.
Zero.
1Q
zero.
All right.
No.
I've been getting into single malt scotches of late.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. You just given Seth something to talk about. I got nothing.
Yeah. So there's one out of Western North Carolina, Defiant. Really nice. Yeah. Really nice. I started out.
What's nice about it?
It's a little peaty, but it's pretty smooth. It's got good flavor.
Let's keep this out of the bedroom.
It's more. So like some of these are more alcohol forward than others, like obviously, and this one wasn't as forward as I had gone down to South Carolina and went to a distillery, and everything was way forward on the alcohol. And I couldn't really appreciate it. I guess that's what some people prefer. Yeah. And then my first one I ever tried was from Scotland. It's called Highland. Highland. And then most recently I was gifted one that I can't remember the name of right off, but it's a 12-year Scotch, single malt, and it's really good. I think it retails for around $63 a bottle. So this single malt stuff's not cheap.
So what? Okay, so what makes it single malt when you say that? What do we mean by that? And I'm sorry, anybody who knows this. I have no idea what that means.
So the way it's and I'm still coming up to speed on it, to be perfectly honest. It's the way it's distilled, and that it's not a blend.
Okay.
And that's about the extent of my knowledge at this point.
Is it from a single cask, or is it just from a single batch that was batched and barreled at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, Seth. Do you know?
Seth, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's the same batch. It's the same batch. So there's single and there's blended, and so blended will be where they take different recipes and mix them together. And it's a single malt mash bill, so it's the same recipe and it's going to be the same age. And they can only age it to the age. If it's blended, they can only age it to the age of the youngest in the blend. So if you mix a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 15-year, it's a 5-year blended Scotch. And then it's only the age of the original or initial blend or aging as well. So they can actually blend it, put it in a barrel for another 5 years, and let those flavors kind of mix together, and it will still only be a 5-year blended whiskey.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There was a time in the cigar world that there was still some Cuban leaf in the United States, so pre-embargo leaf, and they would use that as partially as a condiment tobacco mixed into cigars, and partially as a advertising gimmick that it contained genuine pre-embargo.
Yeah.
But,
interesting.
Yeah, I always wondered what percentage of the cigar was actually genuine Cuban leaf.
Right.
Now, are you a pipe smoker?
Not terribly much. No, not terribly much. But I think since we've been embargoed in our homes, I've been reaching out to some things, some legal things, to help smooth out the rough edges.
Legal in North Carolina?
Legal in North Carolina. Yeah, cigars, single malt Scotch, beer, the pipe. Yeah, the pipe. The pipe.
Wait, can't quite see it.
Recognize that.
Oh, look, I have some tobacco still.
Ah. Hey, look at that.
Nice.
That's a country. Let me see the bottom of that. That's a country gentleman. That dates it, That's a very old country gentleman pipe. Wow. That one doesn't have a wooden plug in the bottom. It's got the old label on it. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was from us?
It had your logo on it.
Look at that.
There you go.
Wow. So I've got some that are older than that, but oh my gosh.
So I wonder if this tobacco is still good.
Yeah, the pipe tobacco can be rehydrated. It's probably awfully dry now, but you can put it in a bowl and moisten the paper towel and just lay the paper towel over the bowl. Don't make contact with the tobacco.
Okay.
10 minutes or so, give it a shake and see how it feels. You don't want it ever to get wet, but you do want to have some spring to it. I would imagine if that's as old as the pipe, oh my gosh, that is. I don't even know when we last printed those. That's the paper that Jandy used for our patents.
For the patents.
Oh my gosh.
And because of Jandy's patents, that's why I have patents on my barbecue website.
Ah, okay, cool.
I have the Weber kettle grill patent and a Weber gas grill patent drawing. Now these were long gone inactive. So
just artwork now.
They're just artwork now. And so I have those applied to, in the Weber category, I have frame prints and also coffee mugs and t-shirts of the Weber kettle.
Have you sold any of those? Don't mean to pry, but
the print, yes, actually sold 2 of the print, like almost right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that was actually the first sale off that e-commerce site.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, wow.
Well, I mean, I can bring this back to Jandy and our website with SEO. We have let our website kind of coast for the last 2 years. I do very few videos because my wife stays at home and watches 4 grandkids. Our daughter is in our house and it has some physical problems that she attends to. And she does her best to stay on top of the orders that come, and we appreciate them and don't stop sending them. At the same time, she would kill me if I doubled our business. So, and I know it wouldn't be difficult because we were there once. We were there. We were the second listing on any Google search for anything related to corncob pipes, and and I don't know. We're nowhere near the front page anymore.
Huh. Yeah, so it's an ongoing, sustained effort. SEO is, for sure. I mean, certainly my projects suffer for a lack of content right now, but that's my doing, and I know it. But my clients, my fully packaged out clients get regular blog posts, if nothing else. And then they share that to social.
Now, are those blog posts written by you or by them?
So the blog posts are written by us, approved by them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, for people who don't know, if you're smart about that kind of content, you write basically an article, right? And that article you put out as a blog post, and then you simplify that into fewer words and make that your Facebook post. And then you simplify that into fewer words with your picture and stick it on Instagram, and with even fewer words and stick it over on Twitter. And every platform that there is out there where your potential customer can be found, you want to be found. And so could be Pinterest for people that are selling things for the home.
And you could back it up one step and start with a YouTube video.
Oh. Yeah,
start with a YouTube video that the transcription becomes the blog post.
Yeah, not the transcription that YouTube comes up with.
No.
Those are hilarious.
You start with the transcription, right? You start with the script, then you do the blog, or then you do the video. I mean, then it's really easy.
A smart person might.
Yeah.
That's how Gary does it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great YouTube content creators who create on the fly. And there's nothing wrong with that, although I would hope that maybe they start with an outline and they have a point to where they're heading. But
there are a lot of mediocre and bad YouTube creators that do that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You fall into one of those 3 categories.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's very interesting, of all the YouTube videos that I ever did, and I think I only have a grand total of like 6 on my channel, the ones about this pellet grill were the most viewed and the first time I ever got subscribers.
Isn't that funny?
The first time I ever got subscribers. Yep.
So I want to come back to that, but first let me ask you, do you watch Malcolm, is it Malcolm Reed? Malcolm from Malcolm Reed from
BBQ Right?
How to BBQ Right.
I have not watched him. No.
I would recommend. He is a competitive cooker, But what he has done that has helped to create just tremendous growth of his channel is he buys the latest popular cooking device. It's a green egg. It's a outdoor kitchen or whatever that portable kitchen, I think it is.
Okay.
And he basically cooks the same battery of foods. He'll do chicken wings on it for one video. He'll do pork butt for a video. He'll do a brisket for a video. So he's got 20 brisket videos, but they're all on different devices. And from his experience, he talks about the different approach that you would take with it.
Yeah.
So as long as they're coming out with new devices, and they are coming out with new devices.
Oh, heck yeah.
he has no end of his reach. And every time he does that, oh, hey, here's a great video on a pellet smoker. And you get sucked in and you watch all 20 of his videos on pellet smokers. And
right.
And he's just got a good style. He's a big old Southern boy, and his style is tell him what you're going to tell him, and then tell him what you told him. He always, before he cuts into it, he reviews all the steps that he went through, and he puts recipes up on his screen, and he has a blog that he more or less transcribes the videos to, and puts the video there so that if he's getting advertising money, he's getting it twice, because once you go to his blog, you're going to watch that video again while you're there.
Yeah.
And really smart. But what sort of things with your pellet smoker have you cooked so far?
So I've cooked breakfast on a griddle pan. There's this 18-inch griddle pan that sits on the center grate of, I have an Oklahoma Joe Rider DLX pellet grill. And this is a new foray for Oklahoma Joe. They've been traditionalists and eschewed anything plugins. So this is like brand new. I was one of several asked to demo it, test it, video it, share it. And it's turned out to be a fantastic pellet smoker. It really has. It can sear, and it sears. It can sear. It gets crank it up to 600 degrees and sear a steak, no problem.
So will it catch fire like the new Weber pellet smoker?
I shouldn't laugh so hard because
that thing's hot, isn't it?
Yeah, that thing is hot. Damn. I feel bad for Weber, honestly.
I do.
It looks like they may have rushed it just a bunch. Just a tad. They must have rushed, because new, as you know, new product introductions are tough.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you, whenever you go to market with something brand new, it's got to be all this time you put into it, engineering it, testing it, and then you get it out in the wild and you're like, oh, we missed that. Right. The pellets don't enter in at the right angle. So we're going to sell you a pellet shoot. We're going to send you a pellet shoot insert so that the pellets go in at the correct angle.
The Weber wedge.
The Weber wedge. And this one guy got out there, and I guess he created a wedge before they created a wedge.
Yes.
And he's like, where's my money? I did a few things on my Oklahoma Joe as far as making storage space on the back legs for cooking grates, and I had the opportunity to talk to the manufacturer recently. He said they're going to take that idea and put hooks welded on the back legs to you can store the cooking grates out of the way.
Smart,
because there's
So you're doing a turkey. You got to take a grate out, right? Or
because there's like the cooking grate, and then there's two full width racks. And these two full width racks, they got to go somewhere when you got a turkey in there or a turduck in or whatever you've got in there. Yeah. It's it's a great smoker and a great grill. I've turned out some really great food.
Were you anti-pellet smoker before then?
I was totally anti-pellets. I was diehard stick burner
and charcoal, big time in the charcoal.
Diehard stick burner, not so big in the charcoal. Gas.
No, wait. When we first met, we were talking about buying pallets of charcoal. Remember the lump charcoal that was going to come in Charlotte?
Always use lump charcoal to start a fire, but work wood on top of it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Still use lump charcoal to start the fire, and but have moved to using splits of hickory wood.
Smart.
And that thin blue smoke.
Yeah. I forget a lot of things, Rob, but I don't forget a lot about barbecuing. So
yeah, you're right. There was this guy in Charlotte that he had a charcoal company that we were looking to maybe acquire a pallet from. Now what we're waiting for is the sale on lumberjack pellets, and the closest store is an hour away in Virginia.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah, because when it goes on sale, it's like half of what it usually is per bag.
Yeah.
And I will be driving up there with probably some of the members of Pitmaster VIP group on Facebook. To go stock up on pellets.
Is that a private group, Rob?
You can request to join it. It's something I just offer to share kind of barbecue tips and recipes and commiserations and that sort of thing as a extension of the brand Pitmaster Tools.
So I just posted my selfie on there. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody, but was it you who started that? And say,
no, I didn't.
Share a picture of yourself with your smoker. And so I did.
Yeah.
And of course I was smoking a pipe. So me smoking while smoking.
Right. What a shock there. Yeah. So pellet grills have been, something I pshawed initially. I was more of a purist, offset pit, stick burner for sure. But then I decided once I started Pitmaster Tools, I wanted to get into the different kinds of cookers. I bought a Pit Boss pellet grill, Austin XL from Walmart, and experimented with that for a while. Was underwhelmed by the smoke production by that unit. Learned that a lot of users of Pit Boss use a smoke tube.
Yeah.
Even bought a smoke tube, but by the time before I had that, I was asked to try out Oklahoma Joe's pellet grill, and I was like, anybody that wants to buy a Pit Boss? I've got it all loaded up, ready to go. It's got the winter blend.
You really see a difference in that?
I do. Now it's not. Now there's different controllers out there. There's PID, and then there's non-PID. Oklahoma Joe is a non-PID controller, but they've done some programming to change up the smoking profile, and there's a tremendous amount of smoke produced by this unit in my experience, compared to the Pit Boss Austin XL.
And again, blue smoke.
No, it ranges between blue smoke and white puffy smoke.
All right. So for those who don't know this, right, when you look at these guys with these big professional rigs, you'd think, oh, they're not cooking now, but you're getting just a haze, right? You're getting a haze of almost clear smoke coming out of the smokestack.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever been by Lexington Barbecue midday? Right. You notice that the smokestacks aren't billowing away.
No.
That's clean smoke.
The goal is full combustion of whatever you're burning in there. And the closer you get to full combustion, the clearer the smoke is, and the better the flavor from the wood to enhance the meat.
Right, you get that acrid taste from the smoldering wood. Yeah.
Yeah, you're choking off the fire, essentially. It's not getting enough oxygen. So what I did for my Oklahoma Joe is I increased the draw on the Oklahoma Joe, and I have this extension. It's actually from the auto parts store. It's an exhaust extension, and you just jam it on top of the existing exhaust smokestack, and it increased the draw where it's not a problem now.
Nice. Okay. Now, see, I haven't done that, but Seth did that on the inside of his smoker.
Yeah, so you can do that too. Yeah,
his smokestack is basically on top of the smoker, and so the smoke goes in, hits the top, goes out. So he's done a lot of really good modifications on his.
There's like out of the box, there's like a 6-inch window where smoking actually happens.
Really?
And the rest of it is nothing, because the smoke goes straight up from the smokestack to the lid and out. And so,
what kind of smoker is it?
I don't know, Walmart.
It's a Grill Master, I think. It's a simple offset smoker. It's basically a 55-gallon barrel.
That's right.
Barrel drum smoker.
Okay.
Mass produced.
It's a very, very common hack for it.
Char griller, isn't it?
Char grill, yeah.
Char griller. Okay.
So you
added the firebox to the side.
Yeah.
Separate purchase. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So you've got the firebox down here, and then the chimney is over here, and right at the top. And so what I've done is I ran from the inside, dryer hose down and attached it to the bottom of the lid.
Plastic dryer hose, Seth?
Yes, plastic dryer hose, metal dryer hose.
Huh.
So that basically just extended it down so that the chimney is now at level with the grill grate.
Are you bringing me?
Yeah, perfect.
And then the other thing I've done, and that helped, but it's just not a perfect seal around the lid. And so
my wife has just delivered me a mug cake, a
nice
low carb mug cake.
Low carb, Mass General Store.
And as she handed it to me this direction, I didn't realize she just took it out of the microwave oven. So,
wait, hot.
Wow.
Low carb mug cake.
She loves me though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So yes, a flexible aluminum. Is it aluminum? I think it is.
Yeah.
Vent pipe that then goes all the way down to the grate. So now every time you open it, you have to kind of stand back because you're going to get smoke in your face, which is a great sign.
Absolutely. That's
from
working.
where it was before.
The other thing I've had to do is I've had to because even with that, it's an imperfect seal around the lid, and so there's a lot of leaking, and so still was getting a lot of that increased the amount of cooking space to about half of the grill now, that the half closest to the smoke box.
Yeah.
And so the other things I do when I'm smoking something large like a turkey is I put some bricks in the bottom, and I take some aluminum sheet pans and just poke holes in them, and I have an entire layer, basically entire layer of pan that hits the top of where the smoke comes in, and so as the smoke comes in, it's distributed and rises up.
Down. Yeah. So I've seen various smoker mods that and there's this whole cottage industry that's come up around this. So this whole thing about smoke leaks, like you could go down a rabbit hole, spend hundreds of dollars for no good reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's why I went with extending the smokestack, because that addresses everything. Smoke leaks are normal.
Mm-hmm.
They do not affect overall performance.
Well, especially on his smoker, where the cooking grate is level with the opening of the lid, right? So if there's smoke coming out of that, his food is covered in smoke. As long as it's good-looking smoke, right? As long as he's getting a good clear blue smoke.
Is the grate level with the opening from the firebox? No, it's level with the opening, the lid.
That's right.
Which is normal. It should be about middle somewhere.
Yes. Pretty much dead center.
Yeah, that's where it should be. And the only other thing I would look at is if you're having a problem controlling your fire, or you have too much leakage, look at extending the smokestack.
It's actually a really good idea. Yeah, because this smokestack's only 6 inches or so.
Right. And you add this exhaust extension, and it's like $6 from AutoZone, and it just slips right over if it's the same outer diameter as the inner diameter of the exhaust, which it probably is, which is like 3 inches outer diameter.
Same size as the dryer hose.
Yeah,
let's get some more of that.
And aluminum inside a cooking chamber makes me a little jumpy. I'll be honest. I'm one of those people that I don't like aluminum in my cooking chamber.
Sure.
Yeah. The science is still out on it.
If he were cooking on the aluminum, or if the aluminum was on the firebox side, I think I would share that concern.
I mean, people cook on aluminum all the time. Like
like aluminum pans,
pans and pots, and
right. There's some concern about what it might do to the brain.
Sure.
Yeah. Like if it might outgas, would it then settle on the food? And what would that mean? What would that do? So I don't know. We all make our own decisions, and we all find ways to enjoy what we do. And it's just a personal preference of mine, and it's a personal preference of yours. I don't begrudge anybody, but I'll tell you, that whole cottage industry that's around smoker mods.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sear grates and
clamps and charcoal boxes and diverter plates and gaskets and RTV sealant that's not really even designed to be put on metal and seal a food cylinder.
PID controllers for your Camp Chef smoke
PID controllers, Smoke Daddy PID controllers.
You can spend as much on a new controller as you could buy an inexpensive pellet smoker. Absolutely. Yeah, very easily.
Yes, I've seen where people have swapped out the stock controller from Pit Boss for the Smoke Daddy controller. I'm like, why go through that? Why not just buy a unit that works as designed? I don't know. There's lots of people that love Pit Boss, and I understand that. And
Vincent Piper earlier tonight said, I know a guy who was on a Travel Channel special in barbecue. Said he's won $100,000 in prize money lifetime, but he's invested far more than that at the same time on his rig and other gear.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I met a guy who has a barbecue restaurant down in Fort Worth. He's open 3 days a week. And the reason he's only open 3 days a week is the rest of the time he and his buddies are out competing. And they're not the winningest team out there. However, they've got a whole bunch of awards, and they sell $40,000 worth of barbecue on a weekend. They take 2 smokers, the one that they're smoking their competition meat in, and the other one they're selling to people who go, oh, that guy has a bunch of trophies. Let's buy some of his ribs.
Wow.
$40,000.
Wow.
And it's probably still costs some money.
Brian Report said they'd love for someone to use a $40,000 setup and then just grill 2 magnificent hot dogs on it. Nothing else.
Take the best of the 2 hot dogs and turn it in.
Turn in which hot dog is better.
That's right.
But that like the competition we were in, really the backyard competition. You got judges that are judging based on just their own taste. It's not like it was if you were
sanctioned KCBS, right?
KCBS, where they're looking for a bite through and a particular texture, and is it supposed to be sweet or savory? That all varies. And you look at those guys like Byron Mixon, who knows when he is in this competition in this state, they want it cooked over this kind of wood and with this sort of injection,
Right.
It's a science at that point.
It is. And what they do at competition is nothing like what you would cook for yourself at home.
No. Okay. So that guy we were telling you about, How to Barbecue Right, he's done a number of videos where he shows you how he does his competition chicken thighs. But then he's also done a number of, this is what I cook for the family, and they're, leg quarters.
Right.
And, totally different.
Yeah, because they take that chicken thigh and they take the skin off of it and then they rewrap it.
Scrape the fat off.
Scrape the fat and then rewrap it. And then, and then they sauce it, and it's, wow.
Cook it in a muffin tin to get just the right shape. And
crazy.
It is
crazy. It's crazy. Crazy.
Steam Dome wants to know, what are your 2 favorite woods to smoke with?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Hickory, by far, is my favorite wood. Hickory, and it's been a while, but mesquite. I like mesquite too.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in Texas, they don't cook over mesquite.
No, they cook over post oak, and I think if I could
and they'll cook over mesquite coals. They will burn down the mesquite first, and then shovel it into the smoker.
Like
most
in
of
a
us,
minute. Yeah, if I could get post oak, I would use post oak.
Most of us who don't know any of those things make the mistake of buying chunks at Walmart, throwing it in the fire, and then we're shocked at how obnoxious the mesquite tastes.
Yeah, you got to go easy with mesquite if you're going to use it. And I've used it, but I've gone away from using it. Like my number one is hickory by far. It's that when it's burning completely, there's this sweetness to it that's just uncomparable.
So how about your pellets then? Do you look for a particular flavor of pellet?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I did a deep dive, as you may have expected, on pellets, and did this whole analysis of pellets and figured out about pellet manufacturing and about ways that different manufacturers use base woods versus fruit and nut woods.
So alder.
Their ratios, right? Alder or oak. And in one manufacturer, if you're in the East Coast, you get oak. On the West Coast, you get alder.
And that would be Traeger.
As a base wood for the pellet. That's one of the brands, yeah. And I have a website in development that kind of talks about all of this.
Smart.
I have to get back to it. But what I found out is that all but one manufacturer uses the complete log. Now, the reason that we want someone to use the complete log is that layer between the tree wood and the bark. There's this flavor layer. I think it's called lignans or something like that. When that burns, you get some tremendous amount of great flavor. So I started using, whenever I could, if I can, exclusively use lumberjack pellets. Mm-hmm. Because they are, when you buy hickory, it's hickory wood, whole log, no secondary wood as a base. It's 100% what they say it is.
I've got several bags of lumberjack.
Yeah. Lumberjack's some good stuff. Some people like that charwood blend because it's got bits of charcoal in it. And that's what some people associate with well-grilled things. And so that off-gassing of that charcoal into the chamber deposits on the food, and people get that kind of char-grilled sort of experience.
I bought some of that and made burgers. I wanted to know, could I grill with what's marketed as a pellet grill? In the end, no, I don't believe that I can. But I smoked a mean burger, and that burger with that charcoal pellet did have a different taste, a charcoal taste. But to me, it wasn't worth paying a premium for that. No. We smoke almost entirely on apple, and most mild meats that we're cooking with apple. But I also have hickory and let's see, what did I cook most recently on the hickory? Chicken thighs.
Yeah,
I cooked with the hickory. Not everybody notices the difference in my household, but I am a taster, and I can taste the difference between one wood and another. And it goes back. My wife was complaining about this about me, but my mom, when I was a kid, would have to make a second meatloaf that had no onions in it. Now I'm over my onion phobia, but if there was a single little piece of onion in that meatloaf, I could taste it from the very first bite. It didn't matter if I was eating it from the other end. And she used to do that on purpose just to make sure that I wasn't wasting her time.
Right.
And I could taste it. And there's just something about my taste buds. I pick up on all those little
those nuances.
Things.
Yeah.
For a long time, Mom used that to make sure that pizza leftovers remained for her and weren't.
That's exactly right. Yes, she would order her half of the pizza with onions and have about half of that left over, and she would know I wouldn't touch it. Speaking of which, let me see if this cake has any onions in it.
So speaking of pizza, I've recently started cooking pizza on my pellet grill.
Ooh.
And there is this pizza box insert. It is a stainless steel shell with a cast enamel steel bottom, and it's all one little box, and you put it in the grill, let it heat up, then put the pizza stone in, let that heat up. Then you have an oven-like kind of environment to bake a pizza in about 5 to 7-ish minutes.
After an hour of heating up?
Yeah. Well, what's the advantage there?
Well,
just duplicating
it's
the
not an hour.
oven, but
It's not an hour. Yeah. So the challenge with either grilling it or putting in the oven is that the heat isn't close enough to the pizza to brown it fast enough, especially if you're trying to get some of this more like a Neapolitan style, which is kind of classic Italian pizza. Cugino Forno in Greensboro is great for that style of pizza. Cook it in 90 seconds. And that's what you want. You want a pizza that cooks in 90 seconds. It's a completely different animal. And so I've been learning about pizza doughs and all of that. And because I love pizza. In fact, I think some of my social media profiles say pizza snob on it. Because I am a bit of a pizza snob.
First time I was at your house, it was for a pizza party.
It's Palermo frozen pizza party. Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Best
They hit the market, local market for the first time, and
I loaded up. I loaded up and had all my friends over. Yeah, that's the best frozen pizza product there is, I believe.
That was a fun night.
Lowe's Foods is the only one that sells them now. They're not in Sam's.
They still have inventory, you're saying?
It's new stuff.
So, any other comments in the chat there, Seth? Any questions?
Anybody else have anything else? About barbecue, SEO?
They're talking with each other.
A little bit. Donald said Nordic Ware has been making cast aluminum pans and grates and griddles for years. While you guys were talking about the different wood, you're talking about. I think Homer, you said they don't cook with mesquite, and Donald said, "To hell we don't." He said, "I'll gladly cook on mesquite, but you temper it with hickory and pecan."
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And he said, "Yes, we do post oak, but that is for burn time and consistent temperature."
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
So he obviously hasn't been to the best barbecue place in Dallas.
Or a really notable brisket place in Austin.
Yeah, that's true. I've been by it. I've never had it.
Actually, somebody brought vacuum sealed brisket from there. She lives in Austin and brought it with her to North Carolina.
And then I wait in line.
No, she actually got to order it ahead, and
you can do that.
You can do that on a limited basis, and then I kind of sous vide sort of reheated it. I took a roasting pan, put it across 2 electric burners, filled it with water, put the brisket in there in its bag, and let it heat up. Because how else can you reheat barbecue and let it maintain its moisture?
Seth and I both sous vide, and that's exactly the way we reheat barbecue.
And even then, you're still losing some, but it's not nearly as bad as any other reheat method.
Yeah. and I just got in on the sale on a Nova.
We both have a good choice. Yeah.
Great choice.
Yeah, it's sitting down in my kitchen. Still haven't opened it yet. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it, but yeah, I got it.
So the secret is to download the Joule app and use that for any recipes and temperature settings and things. Their app is far superior. And then just go back to the Innova app for controls.
Yeah.
The Joule app?
Yes, Joule's app is fantastic.
The primary competitor, and they're so much better in terms of what their app offers.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. I appreciate that tip. I'm always open to learning. I mean, always. Yeah, what's
really cool about their app, let's say you go there and you want to cook steak, and so you click on steak, and then you want to choose your doneness. Well, you actually scroll through the doneness, and it shows about a 5-second clip of that doneness of steak being sliced. It's like, no, that's a little too red for me, and you slide it over, and you see that. Oh, that's what I want. And then they ask you, well, how thick is the meat? And I don't know, does it even give you a thing if it's frozen or not?
It does. So here's
there's a video.
Different temperatures. So if you want rare, you cook at this temperature. If you want your steak to be overcooked, you cook at this temperature. And
nice app.
Then you get the option to say, is it fresh or frozen, and then how thick is it, and then it tells you exactly what the temperature is and exactly how long to cook it. And so once you figure all that out, you go over to the Innova app and punch it in.
Set it up. Yeah.
Right.
So my Innova doesn't have an app. I didn't buy the Bluetooth version. I bought just a dumb one, and
so you got to punch the button on top of it.
It does just fine.
Sure. Yeah, so I recently had some grass-fed beef, and there's a noticeable difference between grain-fed and grass-fed. And even I've had some dry-aged steaks as well. Yeah. There's a different flavor there, too.
Did you like the grass-fed beef?
I did.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. We went to a restaurant in Boston. Let's see, Seth had been born, but Dana had not. So 30 years ago. Yeah. And neither of us enjoyed our steak. And then we were back there again on a business function, and neither of us enjoyed our steak. And then the next time it was a business function, and they picked up the tab. So I got a better steak, didn't care for it. And finally I had to ask somebody what the deal was. Well, all of our steak is grass-fed. It comes from Canada and yada, yada. And I then drew that correlation. In the meantime, I've bought at Lidl. They'll have steak side by side, and they'll have grass-fed and then the regular. And I cooked two of them side by side in the sous vide, exact same cut, same temperature. Yep. Did not care for the grass-fed, and it was more expensive. So
Yeah. I've also discovered Irish butter.
Yeah.
Oh,
I put it in my coffee.
You're talking like a keto man.
Man, I didn't know butter could have dimension and really a depth of flavor and color. Right. I was like, what have I been missing? Because I've been over here with Land O'Lakes in the tub with the soybean oil already mixed in, so it's spreadable, right? And then I tried this Irish butter, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
What have I been missing? Because I don't mess around with when it comes to butter, I use butter. I use it. I don't, my body knows what to do with butter. It does not know what to do with margarine. It does not know what to do with hydrogenated soybean oil.
That's true. That's true. All right. So I want to change the subject. This is something I gave you a little bit of a heads up on. Seth, can you pull up that picture I sent to you?
Yep. Maybe.
And I don't know if we would be able to see it, but let us know when it's up there, boy.
It's up.
So this young lady is Angela. And Rob, fill us in.
Okay. Yeah. So Angela. Angela and I were married in 1999, September 4th, 1999. And let's see, I don't remember the date exactly, but she got diagnosed with glioblastoma multiforme, which is a fancy name for brain cancer. The WHO graded a grade 4 right off the bat. So it's a grade 4 primary brain cancer. The most insidious thing about this cancer is these invisible, best we can call them, tendrils that shoot out from the first tumor that comes up. And so soon there's a second and possibly even a third. And we knew right from the get-go that just from basic primary research, you know, the American Board of Neurology statement about glioblastoma, that average 18 months survival rate. So we knew we were in for something real serious with this. And 22 months, and she went in to hospice. Her decision, her choice, her talking to me, telling me it was time for her to go to hospice. From that date, 2 weeks to the day, she passed away at hospice.
That was just a month shy of 20 years.
Yeah, just a month shy of 20 years. Yep, exactly right.
So,
August 18th.
Leaving you with a beautiful teenage daughter who, for a number of years, I've had the pleasure of watching grow up into a beautiful young lady.
And even meeting once.
Yeah. And you said so eloquently in one of your blog posts. And by the way, let's also plug that blog.
RobAinbinder.com. Been writing there since 2003. There is a category of posts where I document our journey with this brain cancer. It includes my eulogy. It includes kind of the day we decided. It includes kind of all these in-between decisions. The day she decided she was going to go off the cancer treatment because what was being presented to us as the next step was so potentially toxic and debilitating. Yeah, debilitating that she just didn't want to do it. She wanted to. She said, you know, we focused on quality of life rather than quantity of life. And I think when you're faced with a prognosis like that, there's a lot of people that go to fight and fight.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that just say, I'm just gonna be present for the rest of this, for whatever quantity of time I have left. I'm gonna do the best I can with it. I'm gonna manage my symptoms, and when my symptoms get too much for me, or I become too infirm, I'll decide when it's time to go get more care. And this is exactly what Angela did. And you know, the bravest day was the one that she said she was going off, because the truth of this treatment is there's this standard of care, and you can look it up. It is surgery, followed by radiation, followed by oral chemotherapy, which is very mild. And if that doesn't work, it's the Wild West. It's whatever the neuro-oncologist and think might work, and they try it, and then you get scanned, and so you get this scan anxiety, because you don't know coming up in 4 weeks, the next scan, what's it going to show? Is it going to show progression? Is it going to show that it's stable? Because really all you're fighting for is for the doctor to say, we have a durable response. A durable response, not a cure, but a durable response. And nobody wants to be in a position to hear that a durable response is your best option. But, you know, you're in that position, you know, and I hate the term new normal.
Yeah.
It's bandied about in cancer circles and in other circles. And even now with our self-quarantining, it's new normal. I'm like, there's nothing normal about it. It's certainly new, but there's certainly nothing normal about it. And, you know, over those 22 months, I just saw her degrade. You know, we all saw her degrade before us. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. This whole experience, I wouldn't wish it on the worst enemy.
Well, and both of you, not just you, but even she, bravely continued posting on Facebook and sharing what was going on. And, you know, it's, I had lost my sister the year before all this started. And, you know, some of the, well, let's face it. I mean, women, they care about their appearance.
Absolutely.
And there are times where the treatment makes you not look like yourself. You
Absolutely.
know, hair loss and just all kinds of things that happen that, you know, would make a woman feel not like themselves for one thing, and definitely not what they think is their best self. And the fact that she bravely continued to share those pictures, I thought was pretty amazing. And I'm glad she did. I know a lot of folks, you know, they don't want to do that. I want people to remember me the way I looked, you know. Well, I can't blame them, you know.
The fact was that we, you know, I lean into social media. She doesn't. She didn't. And so we had this conversation. I was like, we had this option. Do we want to share this story or do we not? And she said, let's share this story in hopes that it will help other people.
Yeah.
And out of my own selfishness, I started this private Facebook group where people like you, other people that I know, people that she knows, can receive the updates. A little bit more detailed updates than what we shared on the greater social media, in fact. And I did it from a selfish one-to-many kind of reason, because I quickly understood that I couldn't communicate singly via text message or phone call to even a dozen people effectively. And so I said, we're going to do this group. You're going to get the updates there. I got to keep it down to like 4 people.
Team Angela.
Yeah. Team Angela. So Team Angela happened. 500 people. And in the end, it turned out to be even something more than what I imagined. The help that came from that, the support, the love, the appreciation, everything that came from it was so awesome. It was such a community that we even live streamed the memorial service into the group. So that people that couldn't be there, that had been along on this journey with us, could join us on the journey, on that part of the journey.
You know, that was, again, way before COVID-19, and my wife's cousin is a mortician. And years ago, they installed cameras to make it possible for people who couldn't come to services, could still come to services. And now that is the way they have to do it, right? I mean, immediate family can be there, but other than that, they're not permitted to have, large groups of people. And that last August was not the norm.
No, it wasn't. There certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't. That turned out to be a really special, a really wonderful day, and yeah.
And the mayor didn't send the police in to break it up either.
No. In fact, the funeral home had the police come over and do an escort because there were more people in the procession than what we had anticipated. There were about 200 people present. Now, not everybody went to the graveside service afterwards, although everybody was welcome. Some people thought it was best to give us a modicum of intimacy or privacy, and I certainly respect that. But if you didn't come to the graveside service, you missed out on my chicken and ribs. Just saying.
So something about your marriage that's unusual. The two of you are from different faiths. Absolutely.
I'm Jewish. She was raised Baptist, then moved just more towards being Christian. Most recently United Methodist Christian, and then a planted church near where we live now, with a band and praise band and all of those things that you'd expect. And yeah, we just decided to focus on what our commonalities, essentially the 10 Commandments, and not the differences. We celebrated many of the Jewish festivals, including the minor one, Hanukkah. And we celebrated Easter and Christmas. And
by the way, Jesus also celebrated Hanukkah, so that shouldn't have been a problem. Well, okay. I was very interested in that when we first met and met your family, because that can be a stumbling block in a relationship. And then what sounds like, hey, we can do this. Then the kid comes along and suddenly people start getting, we're going to raise them my way.
Yeah.
Right?
That was,
you guys,
that was tough.
How did you handle that?
So she was not even 1 going on 2 maybe. And I had done some reading on my faith. Even the most up-to-date stuff said that she just couldn't, because it's all based on what faith the mother is or was, that she wouldn't be Jewish. She couldn't be Jewish. Even at the time, in the reform movement that I most closely associated with, not even something more conservative. And so we made the decision we'd raise her Christian. Yep.
I was fascinated by this and the fact that you guys worked that out as adults.
Yeah.
And, no bad mouthing the other person's beliefs and,
nope.
And being fair, I'm sure, with your daughter's inquisitiveness as the years went by. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said something in your blog that touched me in a different way as I was thinking about you, that, how do you describe Rob? And your own blog said it, and that is you're not a single father.
Uh-huh.
You are parenting alone.
Yeah.
And
yep.
I thought, that's
different. That's different,
it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's because in other situations, divorce, it is a loss. men and women that go through divorce grieve.
Yeah.
That's similar, but what's different is if they're divorced, then the other parent is still out there somewhere, you know, and that's very different.
Yeah, right.
That's very different.
Or even some that have chosen to have children on their own. There never was the other parent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And is that single parenting, or is that
parenting alone?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just, I looked at it only from my perspective, obviously, and that's what I came up with. I was like, it's very different. It's very different than an intact family.
So I wouldn't wish a teenage daughter on any a lone parent, let alone a dad. So how do you guys do that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and we just put one foot in front of the other, and when we get to something, we try and work it out, and sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't.
My wife was out of town the day my daughter got her period. And she's lucky I had 4 sisters. and didn't freak out on her. Right?
Wow.
Go out back, I'll get the hose.
Wow.
But there are those things that there will continue to be milestones in your daughter's life.
Yeah.
That you'll be doing alone, that you never planned on doing alone, and that she never planned on doing with just dad.
Right, and that's one of the hardest things is those milestones, and then of course we had begun to think about later years and what that might look like, and that pretty much goes out the window. That goes out the window, and then there's this whole thing about moving forward and beginning again.
Yeah.
And so I found myself grieving and working with counselors at the local hospice, and beginning the process of working through that grief, and began to get back to, because I heard this beautiful thing before we got married, and that is that he was a pastor, and I had dinner with him just before we got married, and he said, envision that when you get married, you are folding yourself into one another. And I took that to heart. I did. I really took that to heart. I said, okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like? How can I make that a reality? And we went about doing our best interpretation of that. But then the undoing of that is another challenge. And so I started doing some things to take better care of myself. I picked up the meditation habit while she was still alive, and I knew that really sleep was essential for somebody fighting a disease and being medicated, and good for me too. And I continue to do that, and then go back to doing some exercises, and then I wanted to get back to my faith, and so I started attending temple again, volunteering at temple with youth and that sort of thing. And well, wouldn't you know, I attended Yom Kippur services, which are part of the high holidays, one of the holiest time of the year for the Jewish faith. And this woman that I previously known through her husband and she reintroduced herself to me, and that put us on a path to in pretty short order begin to date. And happy to say that we passed the 6-month mark and we're still dating.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm really happy.
That's good.
Surprised, but very happy. Yeah, to see that, to have that happen then in that place at that time. I can't help but think that, there was some other intervention.
Now, just for anybody curious, you mentioned that you met through her husband. So where is he?
They're divorced. But I originally met him. We shared an office when I decided to start my own business 7 years ago. We shared an office for a while. In fact, my family met their family. We had dinner together. And then as couples, we went out a couple of times even. So everybody at least had an introduction to each other.
Yeah.
And when the time is, if there's ever a right time, everybody will meet everybody else.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened completely. Yeah.
Have you read any of Dr. Laura's books?
No.
Actually, Dr. Laura Schlesinger. I don't know if she's still on the radio or not.
Yeah.
But she's had some really, really good books on that subject.
Yeah.
On when is the right time, how is the right time to introduce family members like that. And
I've got written by a widower, The Widower's Guide to Grieving, I think it is. And then I've got some other books. We did the love languages test. Mm-hmm. She and I, that was really helpful. Really helpful. Yeah. And in fact, I became aware of some other couples going down the road of beginning to have some trouble, and told the guy that I was, trying to support a little bit, to go take the love languages test to at least know, are you in the same ballpark?
Right.
And where are the points of difference? Like, where are there some that are like close to one another, or are you just diametrically opposed? Acts of service versus gifts versus, intimacy,
what do they call
and all those things.
Yeah, one of them is I forget what they call it, but it's basically time together and quality
time. Yep, that's
together. That's way high on mine, as you can tell. 2 hours into a conversation on Skype.
Right. Yeah, I can see where quality time is important to Scott.
Speaking my love language here.
Yeah. Well, and that leaks over to your work relationships too, I think. If I remember my experience, those hallway conversations might have run a little longer than average.
Well, we had that demilitarized zone between product management and marketing there, in the door to nowhere.
Right, the door to nowhere, where the pallets came up.
Yes, we were on the second floor of an office, and the plan when they built the office was they would someday expand out this side of the building, and so there was this double glass door that literally opened up to nothing, to a field.
With these steel bars across it.
And we would hang out right there and just chat.
Right. Yeah. And anybody that was accepting a delivery had to tie off, OSHA compliant, to a tether to accept a forklift that brought this pallet up to the second floor.
Yeah.
It was the only way that one department could get deliveries of stuff, I guess. I don't know. But
so I started work there when that end of that floor was a warehouse space. And then we grew and we grew and we grew till it became offices, which is why in the summer we sweat like pigs, and in the winter we froze because we didn't have our own AC or HVAC on that end of the building.
Right.
So for us to be cool meant people in the adjacent conference rooms could hang meat.
Yeah. So true. So true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy.
Good
times. Good times. Yeah.
So tell us a few of the places we can find you for folks that are interested in checking out what Rob's into.
Yeah. So one of the many places is my blog, robainbinder.com.
Which we will link down below.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that I do are linked from there. My books are listed on there. The recently launched social distance floordecals.com is a very new project, accepting orders. Just added face masks today. Interesting that you're prohibited from advertising for them on any platform. But people need them, I know, or people want them.
Yeah.
And we have them. 3-ply paper ones and 2-ply nylon ones that are washable. And the nylon ones are made here locally.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the floor decal thing is, I've been to stores that have got duct tape down on the floor, and you can tell it's already taking a beating.
Yeah. The first order we got so far, our biggest order, it was from a manufacturer, a large manufacturer, Velcro USA.
What do they make?
Hook and loop.
I wonder what they make. Yeah. And they just placed a second order. So large warehouse customers were our first customer.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it surprised the hell out of me. I thought we were retail. Nope. Nope.
That's fascinating.
And despite paying for ads on Google, where did we get the order? Bing, organic.
That's because there are only like 4 people searching on Bing, so you're bound to be first page.
I think.
I understand you're way up there on Ask Jeeves as well.
That's right.
Ask Jeeves, right? And
Alta Vista.
Yeah, and IX Quick.
Dogpile.
So
Rob,
do you see for you, is the decal business something that's short term, taking advantage of the current market, or do you think there's longevity in that?
Well, we don't know. It all depends how we phase back into life, right? I mean, if the government insists on maintaining it's still telling us the best practice social distancing, wearing masks, then there's going to be a long-term play for this. And, I think the other thing that I see is the possibility that because I was just talking with my partner about this, do we get into more industrial type stuff or something? I don't know. Certainly we've started here and we're open to see where it goes. But immediately it started with to try and, since my primary business is off quite a bit, and I luckily qualified for the PPP loan, what else can I do while I'm waiting for my clients to unpause their marketing efforts, So this is one of those things.
Something I haven't seen marketed yet. This is I'm going to give this to you. This would be a perfect tie-in for you. A telescopic poker that you can poke the people who are not practicing social distancing.
So yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And there was a Star Wars beam going around Star Wars meme for quarantine. It had wear mask. It had Darth Vader's mask shown, and said maintain at least one lightsaber's distance.
Nice.
So that would work. That'd be effective. You poke them, they just disappear. A la Obi-Wan, you know.
Is that how it works, really?
I mean, that's how it worked for him.
Or did it work the way Luke did it? It may be that actually Obi-Wan was somewhere else, and he was telegraphing his.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Mm-hmm.
No,
all right,
that wasn't yet.
So, okay, Rob, are you a Back to the Future fan?
Not a big one, no.
Well, I'll throw something out that I was watching on YouTube the other day. Seth Sturt reminded me of this. The video was basically how many times did Marty McFly die in Back to the Future? What do you mean, how many times did he die? The point was, okay, you remember there was that scene where he's on the hoverboard, he's riding along the side of Biff's car, and then eventually he gets to the point where Biff is going to run him down, and just as he exits the tunnel, down drops the string of flags, and he grabs a hold of those, and Doc Brown lifts him away with the DeLorean. Now, how did Doc Brown know to be at that end of the tunnel with the rope of flags? Well, because he had died, and Doc went back in time, got the flags, and saved Marty. You know, he calculated that maybe that wouldn't break the rules that he had established for himself. So you think of all the times in the series, like Back to the Future 2, where Marty steps off the building at Biff's casino and lands on the hood of the DeLorean that's there. Biff thinks that Marty kills himself, and instead, there's Doc Brown. Well, maybe Doc knew that Marty killed himself. He went back in time.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there's at least 10 points in that movie.
Wow. I had no idea. Well, this has been really awesome, guys. A little bit longer than I was planning for, but hey.
Hey, that's how this works, man. That's how it works.
It was good to catch up, for sure.
I'm just happy that your earbuds lasted this long with you not knowing if they were fully charged. So
I know, me too. I'm very surprised that they lasted this long. And having to switch up from laptop to phone.
Yeah, someone should do a better job of planning this thing.
Hey, is that a Maccabees brand headset you're wearing? Sorry, that's a Hanukkah miracle reference.
Yeah, no doubt. No. Yeah, these are right. Yeah. These are what are these? What is this brand? I forget.
Oh, Panasonic. You can't hear us now.
No, you can't hear us now.
Rob,
he was saying all sorts of mean things.
You couldn't hear all the things I was saying about you.
No, I couldn't hear the mean things you were saying about me. No, but I can only guess. I'll come back and watch it at the end.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that. Well, Seth, we'll have to edit that out. So we will wrap this up. Rob, thank you so much for coming. It's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, good to catch up with you.
Once we're permitted to, we'll have to get together over some barbecue or something.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah. So, hey, for those of you who are with us live or even watching this video, it's good to have you. And thank you for being, really important quarter of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. And I'm going to leave us on this. We're filling Rob in a little bit on, this 1/3 of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club or 1/4 of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club right now. And I mentioned to Rob that, we threw around the idea of maybe we wouldn't reference that anymore. And several people, an avalanche, as I like to point out, mentioned in the comments that no, they are 1/3 of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Right now, they would be 1/4. So if you self-identify as being 1/4 of Markwood Men's Breakfast Club, please mention that in a comment on this video once it goes live. And great to see you.
And if you'd rather consider yourself a breakfast clubber, put that in there, and we'll do a poll. We'll do a poll between.
Next a breakfast clubber?
Sure. Better than a quarter of nothing. Next week, my brother-in-law Isaac is going to be joining us. He has started his own construction company in North Carolina. Spent some time working behind the scenes for a professional full-time YouTuber in Seattle, and has just come back from driving across the country from Seattle, and so it'll be a great conversation. Rob, it's great to meet you, and thank you for joining us
too,
tonight.
Seth.
And
thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Everyone else, see you guys next week.
Make it a great week.